Hey creators, welcome back to the club. The Black Creators Club is the go-to resource for Black movers and shakers in Hollywood, reactions to the latest pop culture tea, and our own entertainment pursuits. As you can see, we are joined by obviously our co-host Akilah Ffriend and my co-host Eboné Chatman, but also our very, very special guest, Jasmine Jordan. Hey girl.
Hey girls.
Yes, she's an R&B recording artist with a soulful and sultry vibe. And, you know, she has a lot to talk about when it comes to staying in and achieving in the R&B game. But also, she has her new single coming out this Friday, 10/16, called Release. So we're speaking to her just in time so she can talk about her new music and that much more. But before we get into that, you know what we do at this point. This is the 10th episode, so you know the vibes. We start off with our Maven to Maven check-in before going into our topics of the day. So we'll be talking with Jasmine about, again, all things R&B and her journey thus far, talking about conforming in the game. She's a Black woman making it happen, and we want to talk more so about, you know, the journey that she's had to do in order to make it happen in her career to date, to help you guys, if you're up and coming artist, to do the same. And obviously, before we leave, we love to play a little game with our guests, so that doesn't change today. We'll do that, and then, you know, hopefully you leave today with a bunch of gems. So let's get right into it. Eboné, Maven to Maven check-in. How's it been going?
Girl, it's been going this week. You know, I really feel like this week was stressful. I don't know. I had a lot of I couldn't get out of bed this week. Like I would stay in bed till like 11:30. It was so crazy. And I was like, I am not understanding what is the problem here. Like, why I have no energy, no motivation. I have to get up and work. The problem too is like, I'm a person of like a list. Like I love to have a list. And so I'll have a list and it'll be like all my personal things I need to do for like Black Creators Club, like my Instagram stuff. And then I'll have a list for work. So then I'll have two lists of never ending things that just keep rolling over into the next day. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm so overwhelmed with a lot of things to do. So then I get stressed.
Yeah, that's very real. That's very real. And you know what? You're obviously making it happen. She's bright and early for this call, looking good doing it. So I'm glad you're like, you know, just getting it done, sis. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So this week was rough, but we got through it, thank goodness. And then girl, and then I met up with you last night. So, you know, it was a good little weekend. Akilah, how was your week? I know your week was bomb. Please tell us. This girl was in Tulum. Okay.
Yes, that was the week. So talk about getting things done. I threw the list out the window and I was on the beach, and it was so much fun. It was so needed too, because, you know, let me just say too, it was a very socially distant trip. It was a group of us who went together and stayed together in the Airbnbs. But it was nice to just have a change of scenery, to not have to think about work, to not have to think about anything besides just enjoying each other and Black girl magic every day. And it was just a great time. A lot of sun. If y'all followed me, you know, I posted a lot of cute pictures on the beach and I was just catching the vibes left and right. So it was nice. There were a lot of people out there though. There was so many people out there. I was kind of like, it's time to come back. It's time to come back. And you know, what's so interesting, it made me think about, because I got tested before I left, obviously, and I'm going to do it again soon. But the thing is, it's not a situation where you can just walk in to a Rite Aid, walk into a doctor's office and just go. You have to make an appointment. And just so you guys know, that for COVID testing. And it's not like, okay, you can same day. I made an appointment and I don't have one until Tuesday. And I'm kind of like, isn't this is part of the bottleneck? This is part of the issue that's happening. Like, why can't people quickly go in and just know their status when it comes to that? So as much as the precautions I took, I'm waiting for next week. So I'm like sure within myself to be like, okay, we're good to go. But you know, it was a good trip overall. I went for one of my good friends' birthday. So it was a good time to just unwind and meet up with folks who, you know, I haven't seen in a long time. So, all right, Jasmine, what about you? How has your week been?
So it's been an overall, I would say, like it was a very productive week, to be honest, like in total. preparing for the single release, which I announced yesterday, you know, that was definitely like a highlight of this week for me. Just getting it like released. Like, it's funny, this word release keeps coming up, and that's the name of the single, but like it really was a release, just like announcing that it's coming. It's been a couple of years since I released a single. So there's just so much that I've been like holding on to. And, you know, I think yesterday was a big moment of just like, okay, whew, all right, part of the weight is lifted, you know? So that was definitely a highlight of the week. So many nerves and emotions tied to that. But then also I had a girlfriend in town. So I'm in Washington State near Seattle. And I had a girlfriend who came into town, and we just got to have like good old girlfriend time, you know, like honestly, it was so perfectly timed. We were on a rooftop. It wasn't raining. We were able to be outside and like just having drinks and talking about every subject under the sun with your girl is honestly undefeated. Like every time that happens, it's so good, you know? So and then of course, like social, you know, moments are just so limited now with 2020. So anytime that it happens, like I've always been a girl's girl and had lots of girlfriends and appreciated that. But like now it's like when it does happen, because it's so far and few in between, it just really adds so much life to like my spirit and, you know, I think my energy and mood and all of that. So definitely a highlight of the week was last night.
Oh my gosh. I honestly can't like relate more to that because you don't even realize how much like human interaction really makes a difference in like your mood and in the things that you need as humans. Like we need to be like touched and see people and interact. And right now it's like, you know, like you said, we're so limited with that. You know, that's why I was like, I called Akilah right away. Like I called her yesterday and was like, what are you doing? Because I was like, I've been in the house 5 days straight. My mom's like, I'm surprised you lasted this long, to be honest with you. And I was like, I know, like I'm dying in here, like just being in my 4 walls. It's hot. I'm working all the time. So it's like, I'm, you know, it's like the computer, I'm always on it. So I was like, I need someone that's like my vibe, my age range, someone that I can hang out with and talk and kiki. Okay. Cause it is so necessary. Like you need to.
Just to break the day, break the week. Like, you know, you need that interaction. So I'm glad we were all able to have in our own ways and our own, like, you know, environments. That's what it's all about, you know, just balance. We've been balancing.
Absolutely.
It. Balance.
Mm-hmm.
Balance. I pray for balance.
Exactly. Pray for balance. Aim for balance. That's life goals. But, you know, let's jump right into it. Jasmine, I want to know so much more about you, about your journey. And I know you have so many gems just to share with the people. Like, so let's start with your beginning. Like, how did you even get into music?
Yeah. So honestly, from the time I was a little girl, I was drawn to music. We always had music playing in the house. And it sounds like such a cliche story. I feel like when you hear the singer who's like been singing since she was 2, but honestly, I have video footage of me as a little girl loving to like dress up and play and perform and dance and sing. And my parents realized that I was like attracted to music and, you know, really had a gift for music really young. So they were very nurturing, very, very early on. And I think that definitely made all the difference too. So, you know, from the time I was a little girl, I would say then once I got probably like middle school, I would say like maybe middle school, I started being, or maybe even honestly younger than that, started singing in church, like started, you know, my mom, when I was really young, I was like doing commercial classes and modeling and all types of just entertainment stuff. Like she was the mom who was just, you know, like sacrificing her weekends to drive me all the way up to like Seattle and take me to classes. So it was like, I really had just a love for entertainment altogether. And then, yeah, I would say by like, definitely by middle school, I was singing pretty regularly, like in choirs at church and choirs at school. And then I had one overall experience in high school, which is kind of random because honestly, I respect and love theater, like watching people do it, but I've never really been like a theater person myself. So I ended up playing Fantine in Les Miserables. And that also was kind of like a God thing, because the truth is I didn't even audition initially. And a friend of mine who was playing the role, she dropped it. So then my choir director was like, hey, I really want you to audition for this role. And I was like, I don't know. I did it though. And y'all, it just changed. It really changed my life. Like, it challenged me. It kind of broke me down. And then gave me the opportunity to rise up, you know, like in that moment, and to kind of prove to myself and whoever else, you know, that no, like I can do this. I need to get out of my head. And like, you know, the music thing was always easier. Like the acting thing, which it required both, I was like, I don't know about this. But I was so young, and I was just like, you know, insecure and like kind of like, oh, this isn't my normal boat. But again, it challenged me in all the right ways. And when I actually performed, it just reminded me, like, it was like one of those moments in my life where the energy, the electricity, like feeling so at home, like with myself, like I felt very free. And I've said it before, like performing and doing music is probably the one thing, there might be a few things, but this is like the top of it that makes me feel at most like the most free, the most at home. And so that moment really, I think, defined that like music has to be a part of my life. And then when I was in college, it just continued. And I ended up being in a band and it was like a soul jazz band. And we ended up like singing, you know, all over the place. Like the campus supported us, started going to the Bay Area to perform. And then the end of my college career, we ended up opening up for NDRE. Nice. And that again was another moment right before I graduated. So again, I you know, my faith, like I just really believe it was a God thing of like, in case you're having any doubt, in case you're fearful, right, of like what's next, I'm going to remind you with another big thing in your life, like one of those big defining moments of like, this is what you need to be doing. This is what lights you up. Don't ever give up on it, as long as like this is the feeling that you have attached to it. So after opening up for NDRE, I feel like that was really confirmation again that I need to keep going for this. And then at that point I had decided, I was like, I'm going to get to LA. And so I got to LA, really didn't know anybody. And then my manager from the band ended up then moving to LA, and we just kind of started working. Honestly, like we just started working, networking, like introducing, and the pieces of the puzzle started to come together. And then I had, you know, really at that point, it was like me pursuing a solo career versus being in the band. Yeah. So I met my producer, Andre De Santana, in LA through my then manager. And yeah, the rest is history. We've worked on now, I guess, I had 2 EPs before that, and then a bunch of singles. So this is really like the third full project, but a bunch of songs in between. So it's been really beautiful because I've really been growing with him as well, you know, in that creative bag. So I would say that's kind of how I've led up to this point.
Yeah.
I love that. And there's a lot of themes within that, you know, obviously believing in yourself, sometimes having a support system that pushes you a little further than you need to go, anchoring in your faith, the whole idea of being in a band versus going solo, and finding the right team around you, and sometimes just taking that leap of faith too. Like there's so much there, and we're going to delve into all of that.
There's so much there. But I also, like, the thing that really stuck out for me was having that defining moment to kind of like break you, right? Like when you were in that play, when you were like, oh, I don't know, I want to help. You really were able to like buckle down and like figure it out, you know, because where there's a will, there's a way. You know what I'm saying? Like there's always that moment in your career or in a time where you're like, you know what, like this is so difficult. I'm struggling so much in this one area, and I'm not sure if I can pull this off. Like, who do I think I am? Like, what is this? And then you kind of buckle down and just get it done. It feels so good, amazing, and reassuring. So definitely, I feel like when you are in your purpose, you will definitely have one of those moments for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you write about some of those life experiences that you've had today? Like, where does your inspiration come from in the music that you write and or sing?
Yeah, definitely. It's so much of it is inspired by my life, like experiences that I've had, experiences that I've gone through in the past. You know, community is a really like important, I think, theme in life, but especially in my life. And, you know, learning from other people, like seeing other experiences and kind of maybe being inspired to write a song from like something, you know, that I'm kind of watching, that I have a front row seat at. Also, you know, on this new project coming up, I even like wrote a song about like for my future self. So like, you know, being in love, meeting the partner of your life. Like I'm not there yet. So, you know, some of the music is kind of like a note of encouragement, like of like this feeling, this magic, this moment, that person is going to come. And
Oh,
me like
please
imagining it.
pray over both all of us and this call right now, because oh, I need that. We all need that. Okay.
God, please anoint all of us, manifest it. No, honestly, and it's like I really always, I think from the beginning, I would say like it's always come from like a very real place. Now, you know, of course, like sometimes you add little details here and there, but it's pretty true to just like what my like real life experiences has been at one point or another, or an emotion that has come up, and then really diving into it. So it definitely comes from like real life in every way.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Girl. Yes. Do it raw. Like, let us have it. Give us the real. And then we feel like after listening to it, obviously we can relate more. That vulnerability is key, but also it's like we have a better sense of who Jasmine is. So love it. Keep that same energy.
I love it. I love it. And this album definitely, I mean, I've always, R&B is like, right? I mean, all music really ends up being about love in one way or another. So that's definitely a common theme throughout my music, and it will forever be the highs and lows of love, romantic love, and all that. But this album, I definitely challenged myself to just dive into like anxiety and, you know, kind of uplifting and encouraging the king and queens in all of us, like, you know, reminding everyone that we're champions and we come from like, you know, it definitely like goes in and out of like different subjects like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the personal touches are everything. So, you know, when you're able to express your art form, like, you know, Akilah and I have this podcast and be able to express ourselves in this way, to talk to you and, you know, express it. You go ahead and tell your story. We love that. And then for you to be able to tell your story through your music, and just to know that like your music touches other people. Like, how does that feel for you to know that you're not just writing, like you're writing for yourself, but then it's like it touches other people. Like other people can relate, feel your energy, feel your vibe, understand what emotion you're going through, and then be like, oh, you helped me go through this like difficult breakup, or you helped me, you know, find myself again, or, you know, help me like renew this like energy. Like, how does that make you feel?
Oh man, yeah, it's extremely rewarding, you know, and you know, and it's rewarding in a way of just knowing you're not the only one going through things. And I think that helps in like your hardest moments in life, you know, like knowing that like though we may go through experiences that have like different details, a lot of us like know what these emotions are. We like know what heartbreak is. We know what loneliness is. We know what rejection feels like in one way or another if you continue to live life, you know, like you know what these emotions are. So anytime I performed or released a song and people give, I mean, honestly, it means the most. And I always, if I am able to like respond, if somebody gives me feedback, whether that's after a show or like writing me, if I do get to see it, I always try to respond, because like honestly, it means the most. Like it just means so much that, you know, because I really think like when it comes to your why and your purpose, while it feeds you, it's never really about you. It's about like how it can impact other people and how it can impact the world, right? It's always about like going outwards and extending a light outwards. I think like the like true purpose is rooted in that. So, you know, I guess, you know, part of it is just being like part of that is being affirmed that you're doing the right thing, right? Because it's like, okay, yeah, like I did this writing it, just trying to be vulnerable and challenging myself to speak the truth. But now hearing that it's actually helping someone else, it really also like helps me to push on the really hard days, you know, like this industry is a lot and it's a monster in a lot of ways. So that is just like one of those golden reminders that comes up every once in a while, like of, okay, get back to the why you're doing it. Like, don't focus on the BS, you know, like this is why, like, because something has been placed in you. If something's been placed in everyone, whether it comes out in music or a blog or a podcast or a book or art, whatever it is, right? It's like something's in each of us. And when that comes out, the point is for it, I think, to usually inspire, encourage, uplift, you know, help make people feel seen and heard, you know? And so, yeah, it gives me the fuel I need to keep going, I would say, for sure.
I love that. And also, just to be clear, so you're like recording artist, but then you're also like helping write the songs as well. Like, are you putting your input in that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually, today up until like, maybe that'll change in the future. I'm not against like singing a song someone else has wrote if I really connect to it, but I've written all my songs. Some of them, of course, have like co-writers, or I don't play an instrument. So, you know, whether I have the melody and I come up with the lyrics and all that and bring it to my producer and musicians, and then we create it together. So it's always a collaborative effort no matter what. But I'm absolutely like songwriting every
Perfect. So you're not going to have any of those artists with the master problems later on down the road. That's good. No Kanye, Jay-Z problems. Okay, good.
No.
But you know what, that actually, let's get into the nitty gritty of like the technicals of being in this industry and deciding, let's say, to write your own songs versus singing someone else's words or things of that nature. First, are you an independent artist? And if you are or aren't, like, what would you recommend for folks who also want to be, you know, an R&B singer, whether or not being an independent artist is the way to go, whether or not songwriting is the way to go? Like, what are some of your advice on those two fronts?
Oh man. So I think that I am an independent artist. To be honest, like, I wouldn't say one way is better than the other. I think there is like a very real conversation of like ownership and making sure that the outdated contracts that screw over artists, like making sure that is not a thing of today. And I think it's very like blatantly turning into like the artist kind of having more power. You know, I think you could work up a deal today with the awareness and education and everything, and maybe it is fitting, you know, for you, whether that's publishing deals, licensing deals, like, I don't know, there's tons of different like contracts you kind of can negotiate today that I think can potentially like be beneficial for your career. But of course, being indie, you know, it does allow for you to have like full power over everything that you're doing, the music you're creating and all of that. So of course there's the perks to that. Now, the other end of it, the real part is that, you know, you have to come up with the money for everything. And, you know, still, I think the power that labels have, you know, that they have the power and the resources to help push music in a different way. But again, another part of that is social media. Social media has helped change that. Playlists, blogs, you know, like just the internet in general, I think has again made it so that it can work in the artist's favor as an independent artist. So I think you have to take it, you know, case by case. And I would also, I mean, one thing I would say is like, if you are exploring, you know, the label route, make sure that you do at least spend money on getting a lawyer or somebody to look over your contract. Because I think that so often happens is like, you're so excited to get an opportunity and then you just want to roll with it, you know? And so you're like, oh, okay. Like, and then of course, if you don't have a ton of money, right? Like you see a big number and you're like, woo, let's go. Like not thinking about all the potential like money you can make down the line, right? So I think right now, the key for any R&B artist, for any artist is like educating yourself and then not being afraid to ask questions and going to get help from the experts who actually can advise you, like, you know, and hopefully in a positive way. And, thankfully I've had people in my life and in my corner, in the legal industry, where it's like I have had moments where I'm like, okay, can you look over this contract? Can you look over this contract? Like just making sure, like if I am going to sign anything, and then sometimes I haven't signed things. Like, there have been times where it's like, no, this is just not going to work, and having to be like, I think on the business savvy part, which isn't always the fun part. It's not the fun part of the music, right? Having to be all like talk all business all the time, but it is necessary if you're going to be in this industry and you want it to be long term. You gotta like play smart. You gotta know how to, you gotta at least know the basics.
Yeah. And I think in any industry, there's always something that you're not going to like. So buckle up. Okay. Because you're not going to be able to just sit and do like your job. You're going to have to be more expansive when it comes to whatever business it is that you're doing in music. I feel like I've watched so many movies like Dreamgirls and like whatever other music industry. I love to watch like true
behind the music.
Behind the music, Unsung. Yes. Unsung is another good one, right? So where they're playing, they tell you all these things where they're like, okay, yeah, like they gave me a multi-million-dollar contract, but then they also didn't tell me that I'm paying for the video shoots. All that money is like getting taken out. So it's like, you're paying for this stuff, maybe not upfront because you're never seeing the money. But the money that they promised you, you're not getting the full thing because they're now going to take it out. Like you're paying the production, you're paying the label, record company, you're paying everybody. And you're the last one to get paid, and they just don't tell you that. Okay, so I feel like I see so many movies about that too. So I mean, maybe being indie, like an independent artist, might be the way to go because at least you have control. And there's so many creative corners that you can cut when it comes to like doing a photo shoot, an EP shoot, doing a video, there's so many different cool ways that you can like turn one space into like a really cool, like with lighting, you could do it up. Okay.
What?
So,
yes. Lighting in a dream is all it takes for most things in life. Being an R&B artist included.
Okay.
So, I mean, we love to see it. And I think it's interesting. It's important to talk about, especially now. I feel like more people are going the independent route, as you mentioned. I'm glad you talked about some of the struggles of it, because sometimes now everyone is touting that word ownership, but sometimes that's not the key. It's more so like collaborating with someone that you trust or people that you trust. And I think that's more of what the issue or underlying issue was in the past, that you couldn't necessarily trust these labels, when nowadays it's kind of like the ball is in your court to decide to trust them and for them to actually to live up to that promise. And I think a lot of them are thinking of doing that too. So, well, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to see and see how you'll face it. What other things would you say that you face as a new artist, whether that be challenges or opportunities in the game? Are there anything else that you would say that, what other people who want to do this, look out for this, or be prepared for this, or,
Yeah, so that's a great question. There's so many levels to it, I think you really hit it just now when you said like working with people that you trust. And it might take a little bit of navigating the landscape to figure out like who those people are, but I think especially like being a female in the industry, like you do have to have your guard up and like don't fall for any compliment that you get or any producer who just feeds you whatever, like, regardless of who it is. Like, I think you should always move with caution. And and again, it's not to be like, oh, this person is probably like a negative person. It's just like, okay, like, cool. Let's see if this really goes somewhere. Cause I think with any industry though, like it could potentially like, yeah, exactly. Like, people, you get excited, they gas you up, and then you kind of like fall for it right away. And it's just like, I think this is a very like, one, you need to have patience. You need to pray for discernment, and again, that could be just you having the courage to like potentially get a mentor or to seek wise counsel, like asking questions or reading books or looking up resources so that you just have a little bit more knowledge. Like, you don't have to be the lawyer. Like, you're not a lawyer. Like, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how to speak all that jargon. I'm not going to try and read a contract and be like, oh, yep, I understand all this. It's like, no, I need to get someone to help me out, when it comes to that. I would also say like being open to change. I think, you know, don't pigeonhole yourself. Like we're growing and evolving as humans, like, and that happens in your career, that happens with your music, that happens maybe with your taste, like, and, you know, I think being open to not allowing like the pressures to make you feel like you have to become something that you're not. And that's also very difficult because, you know, like social media and the news and the charts and all of that will very easily make you feel like you have to conform, you know. And the thing is, we don't need a bunch of Alicia Keys or Tamia's or Mariah's. Like we have that person and they're amazing at what they do. Like we need you to be you and to use your gift and your power to be what you are. And so I think it's about being like constantly checking in on yourself and holding yourself accountable. And then also making sure you don't just have yes people around you. I never want to get to a point, I don't care what level I'm at. And you should start practicing it early, you know, but like never just have people around you who are always going to say like everything's great, because it's not. And sometimes yo shit stinks. Like everybody like has moments like that, you know. So keeping like the right people around you, back to kind of the first point of, you know, making sure you trust people, that's important. And then last, I would say, don't be afraid to do contracts with friends. Actually, make sure you have contracts with friends. And I say that because it doesn't have to be a negative experience, but you want to be very clear when you're working, I think, with anybody, what the expectations are, what the deliverables are, and when they're due, what the pay is, all of those things. It just leaves for less confusion should something come up and change, or, you know, and also to treat yourself in a professional way. You don't have to be signed to a label to treat yourself as, you know, a singer, songwriter, musician, whatever, like as a professional of that, because that's what you are. So just start having the, you know, like include those type of habits into your career as early on as possible. And I learned that the hard way, to be honest. Like I had a couple like photo shoots or things that just went negative, you know, it just for no reason. And it just like turned into, and I'm like, wait, what? And then you feel, it just leaves such a bad taste in your mouth, you know? But again, I just learned like, okay, cool. Moving forward, whether somebody reaches out to you, it's a friend, it's this, it's that, or an acquaintance, just get it all in writing. That way we're all covered.
I love
Totally.
that. I love
Totally.
that.
And speaking of being all the way covered, you guys, we want you to be covered in this podcast and all the gems that we continue to drop. Okay. This podcast, the Black Creators Club, is your go-to resource, you guys, for all the Black creators in Hollywood. And we love to hear you guys, your support, the reaching out of it all. Like, you know, the fact that we've had artists and people reaching out to us, we love that. So please continue to do that. Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video and all our past videos. Because you guys, we're on episode 10. You guys, we did not come to play any games. And we are so excited to have Jasmine Jordan here with us on episode 10, because that is a huge deal. So thank you to help us bring in this milestone, girl.
Yeah.
Congratulations, ladies. Honestly, you are inspiring. I love working with humans, but I love working with women. And it's just like so dope to see two beautiful Black queens, like just like taking control and doing what they want to do and providing a platform where like, you know, creatives can come together and we can talk and share information and share stories and all that. So kudos to you guys, like blessings moving forward. 10 more episodes, 20 more episodes, 50 more episodes. Let's do it.
That's
all the way.
That's exactly it. I love a good plug, and Eboné, you killed that when you jumped right in there. And so, I mean, and I got said, oh, speaking of, now moment.
Good.
I love it. But Jasmine, even before this, you were saying so much. I mean, this is what we need to hear. This is what people need to hear. And I feel like we're going to delve even deeper into the idea of conforming. And I think it's especially good hearing this from a woman, hearing this from a Black woman at that in the R&B game, in the recording artist, because oftentimes when you hear of conforming, you hear of, you know, men talking about the things that they've had to do, or at least projecting what they think women should potentially do and be like. Sometimes women do it too, for sure in order to succeed. And so we want to hear it from you. We've seen throughout the years, we can all name a couple folks who we've seen, okay, this wasn't you when you first came out. Now all of a sudden you're this, you look like this, you're doing this, et cetera, et cetera. And it works sometimes for them, but a lot of times, you know, people remember and people, you know, take whatever they want to feel from those changes. So I want to hear from you, like, you know, like, how do you see, you talk about faith often, like, how do you see faith showing up in your music? Did you ever come to a point, because you chose R&B, kind of a secular music to kind of go into versus, let's say, Christian gospel or et cetera? Like, how do you see, did you see any changes, or did you see any internal conflicts that you had to decide within yourself, like, this is the route that I'm going for, and am I being judged for it, you know?
Yeah, you know, I never felt, I don't think I ever felt bad for doing R&B. I think there's definitely the thought of like being judged for, you know, if I say a cuss word in a song, like, which doesn't happen a whole lot, but it has sometimes. And the truth is I do like say a cuss word here or there, like in real life, like that's like actual. So, you know, I think it's just checking in with myself and like, and praying a lot, like being connected to God and making sure that I'm not doing anything that's going to feel icky at the end, you know? But that's something like really me and God can only kind of like, okay, we got to check in and like make sure. That's not something that somebody else can make me feel or like force me to do or whatever. So I think it's just about, you know, being honest and checking in with my feelings. There are definitely things I will not do. There are definitely songs I will not be on, you know, just because it's just not in line with like who I am, my values, my brand, like, you know, but again, I'm also not a stickler. Like, I mean, I love putting on a dress. I love showing some skin. Like I like admire like a woman and, you know, like, I don't know, it just doesn't scare me off, you know, like it. So, and I want to keep it real. Like I'm a young woman who's coming up in life and like going through things. And like, I never want to be so worried about like other people's opinions or like Christians' opinions or whatever, where I'm not I'm not even then being authentic and then speaking from a real place, which then is not going to ultimately have any impact anyway, because then you're being fake, you know? So I think it does play a role in just like, but it's more about God. It's not about the people, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and of course I'm normal and I like care about what people think about me in this way or that way. But I think my real check-in is honestly my parents. Like my dad's a minister, and I've always said like, I kind of think like about him when if there's anything where I'm like, okay, is this going to be pushing it to a point where he would be like uncomfortable? And he, even though he's a minister, he's very like loving and like embracing of me and my music and pushing me and accepts me for me. So, you know, I'm like, if my dad is probably going to be cool with it, and like he's challenged me a couple times, maybe when I've cussed here or there, but like, you know, he also is just like, it's like, do your thing, speak your truth. So that's more of the gauge that I have of like, okay, is dad going to be cool with this? Like, and if so, I ain't sweating the other people.
Yeah, I feel like when you have like a strong father figure in your life, like that is always the one person that you're like, oh, like you know, you kind of want that approval from. And so I love that you guys have that like strong relationship, because I feel like it is important being in the industry, trying to stay grounded. I mean, I'm sure we can name plenty of artists that have like been great and then like fell off the wagon and you're like, whoa, what happened? A person that does an amazing at this, and I know this is like cliche to say, but Beyonce, right? Like she's done a great job at just staying grounded and staying true to herself, even when she started like growing in her music into something maybe not so, I don't even want to say not so kid friendly, but like just expressing herself differently when she became like more solo artist, or even like in the 2013 album that she dropped where it's a little bit more sexual, or even in Lemonade, right, with like 6 Inch Heels, like people were, or Partition, people were coming after her and being like, yo, right. Sing it, Jasmine. Okay.
Come on.
People were coming after her and kind of being like, like you are doing too much. You're not, you know, you're not a role model. But I feel like staying true to yourself and staying grounded in a way where you're not falling off. You're not getting into drugs. You're not like doing the extras, but staying focused on your dream and having good people around you is really super duper important. So I couldn't agree more. I'm happy that you have that support system.
Yeah. And like, you know, regarding Beyonce, like people forget that she started super young, but then as you get older, she's a woman now. She's an entire woman, an entire wife, an entire mother. Like you are talking about more sexual things probably, like, because you have a husband at home that you do those things with, like, and you know what I mean? And honestly, like, what do you talk about with your girlfriends, like coming up and stuff? Like, she's not a little girl anymore. And I think sometimes it's hard for people to, it's like uncomfortable, or they want to like keep somebody at a certain age forever. And the truth is, like, life is all of these things and people know it. So I think that's the funny part, is like, you're human too. Like, you know this as well. You probably talk about it as well. Like, why is it a surprise that Beyonce would have a song called Partition, you know? And maybe you don't love the visuals or something, like maybe it makes you a little uncomfortable. That's fine. But for a lot of us, it empowered us, you know, to step into that, to that part of ourselves as well as women, and not be shamed for it. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I think we just have to keep in mind, like, people are evolving and growing, you know, constantly, just like every other human who doesn't do music as well. You know, some just have huge platforms like Beyonce. So she gets like torn apart in every which way, which is so unfair.
Totally.
Have you ever had any issues, or have any, issues is probably strong, but at least any conversations with folks who may have wanted you to change, or may have wanted you to conform, to do this or that in order to get to that next level in your career? And how did you handle that?
The best example, I guess I have like denied being on certain songs because it was just so explicit that, you know, I'm like, not that I don't listen to some of that, but I'm like, nah, I can't like be singing a hook on that. You know, and it hasn't happened a ton, but a few times, like, I'm like, oh no, okay, like this isn't really the right fit. You know what I mean? And then the only other case I can think of is like this whole, like, what is the genre that you sing? And like, what is the genre that makes Billboard? And are you doing pop enough tracks? You know, and that is something I've definitely had internal conflict with. And thankfully I have such an amazing producer that I work with, and we, back to the trust thing, trust each other, and have established such a great relationship where I've brought it up, you know, like, hey, like, should I be creating like more pop tracks? You know, like, is that something I need to be intentional about? But it always comes back to like, what is authentic? Like, you trying to create what other people are creating, it's not going to come out right. It's not going to be successful either, probably, like, or maybe a one-hit wonder. I don't know. Like, it, you know, I just don't think ultimately it will feel good in that way, because it doesn't feel real and good. It's not going to be a success, even if the numbers pull the success. So, you know, I think I love pop music, and even on this album, like, there's more pop elements and stuff, but that was like a natural thing in the creative process. It wasn't someone forcing me to like, you need to do a song like Britney Spears, like, or, you know, it needs to sound like this. Like, it was just removing the pressure to have to create anything that anybody tells me, and just pour out what's inside and what feels good. If you hear a track and it feels good, do something with that, you know? So I definitely think the conforming on like the genre side sometimes has come up, because it's like, you know, I want to do this full time. I want to be a singer, songwriter, touring artist, and I want to have my song on radio and television and film and the charts, honestly, you know? So sometimes it's like, do I need to do something different to get there? And I do think there's a place for the conversation. You just have to make sure, again, that you're coming back to that like foundation of like, okay, how can, even if you are going to do a more pop song, is it still going to be able to be true to who you are?
Yeah. Love it. Okay, so I mean, with that, what are some of your mottos or things that you live by to just kind of stay grounded in the industry? What are, if you have any mantras, if you have any mottos, or just a saying or something that you do to just stay grounded that other folks can...
I know that she does her Ditto Mondays, so come on.
Yes. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so it's called Depot Mondays. And so depot, a deep conversation. It's a word that I shortened in like college. And I was like, we just had a depot, and it became like a thing. And so I'm like, okay, you know, Depot Mondays is really, it's like a blog. I'm still trying to figure out like how to make space for it in like with everything else going on and stuff. But I've been enjoying kind of doing quick depots on Mondays through Instagram, you know, and it's really just like, I want to be a part of a conversation that reminds people that like everything you see on social media, which typically are the greatest moments, the prettiest pictures and that, like, that's not all of your life. That's not like real life, you know? And I don't want to contribute to the stigma that is like what life is. Or if you look at me and look at my life, like, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that artist, you know? So I definitely like have these real kind of conversations and nuggets that I'm just, you know, having with myself, with friends, with the therapist, like, and kind of sharing my perspective on fear, on doing things like, so one of my, I would say is like, don't try to be fearless. You're going to have to do it with fear. Like, I think that's a big thing that I've learned is like, you know, fearless. I get it. I get what it means. And I think it's meant to empower and stuff, but it's very misleading because the truth is like, I don't really know anyone who's ever like fearless for real. Like, I don't know, you know, it's like normally you have some fear and doubt and you still got to push through and like, you got to find the confidence and the courage, really, that's courage, right? To have that and still persevere. So I think that's one. And then the other is like, no one is you and that is your power. And I don't know whose quote that is, but it is a quote that I love, that I stand by, that I repeat to myself daily, because it is so easy to compare your life and everything about it, your personal, your dating, your career, do you have a house yet, your savings account, your car, like your wardrobe, everything. It's just so easy to begin comparing your life to everyone else's. And I think we all have to like stand in our power and put on the mirror and look at ourselves and be like, no one is you and that is your power. Like, that is something that I, especially leading up to like releasing something, I have to keep reminding myself, you know? And then I guess third, I would just say, I've mentioned community already, but like, I'm such a believer in like having community in some way or another. And if like, I know it's not as easy for everyone. And sometimes the older you get, it becomes a bit more difficult to meet people, you know, especially working from home right now in this climate. But, you know, if that's like putting yourself out there and joining an app that will help connect you with people, like-minded individuals, like, I don't think we were meant to journey this life alone. And, you know, even if it's like one person in your community, I think we all need people to become our highest versions. And, you know, there's power in us coming together, just like on, you know, on this episode right now, like being able to connect with two other women and talk to you guys and hear from you and hear your perspective. Like, that is what helps me journey better, you know? So I think community is like another really important thing that I always like to talk about and remind myself, like, it's a beautiful thing to have like people to go through life with.
Yes,
oh my,
yes.
You were speaking some truth on that. My God, I cannot wait. Listen, I was taking mental notes, but I'm literally going to go back when I'm editing this episode and being like, okay, 1, 2, 3, like I'm going to put it somewhere on by my computer. Cause I mean, that was so real.
Thanks, girl. Thanks, girl. Listen, I have people in my life too that remind me of that. It's not just, it's work every day. It really is.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
speaking on therapy, girl, I have my first session on Monday. So tomorrow. So I'm like, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So when you mentioned that, I was like, okay, here we are. Yes.
We're on the path.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. You'll have to let me know how it goes. Like
For sure.
I say therapy is the greatest gift I ever gave myself. Like, it was a gift that wasn't about anybody else but me. And it is amazing. So I hope it like speaks to, you know, your heart and everything tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if for whatever reason this therapist doesn't work, please don't give up. Like, that's some advice I got early on that was really good. It was just like dating, sometimes it takes a few, like sometimes you don't land on the perfect like therapist for yourself right away. And if that happens, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, give another person a try.
We love that. We love that. Okay, we're going to get into the game, right, Akilah? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, so this one is called Billboard Features. So basically it's going to be like quick fire. Okay, so I'm going to give you two options. And then you're going to tell me which person you would rather do a feature with.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Okay.
Yes, I'm excited.
All right. So the first one, we brought it all the way back. We gave you throwbacks. We gave you options. Okay. Gladys Knight or Patti LaBelle?
Patti LaBelle.
Okay. Whitney Houston or Madonna?
Whitney.
I know that one was an easy one. We were like
who rivals Whitney? I mean, at that time it was Madonna. We're just gonna quick fire it.
Yes. Whitney.
Okay, John B or Avant?
John B.
Mariah Carey or Alicia Keys?
I love them both so much, but everyone knows Mariah is my singing hero. Mariah, I have to choose Mariah. I love you, Alicia, though. I love Alicia, but Mariah.
Mm-hmm. No, it makes sense. You honestly look like Mariah's daughter, or you look like Mariah's sister. It's fine. I love it. Okay. Okay, ready?
Beyonce.
Okay. Beyonce, right, or Destiny's Child.
Ooh, okay, that's a good one. That's really good. I'm gonna say I want alone time with Beyonce. I'm sorry. Okay. One-on-one. Beyonce.
Listen,
Beyonce.
Honestly, we were like, who can we rival against Beyonce? Like anybody but herself. She can be herself.
Right. No, that was good because I was like, okay, we would have three perspectives, but I'm like, nah, I just want Beyonce. I want a moment. Like I want to just Beyonce.
Okay. Usher or Chris Brown?
Usher.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised by that. I love that. Okay.
I think Usher is the king of R&B. I'm saying it here.
Wow.
Oh, mic drop.
Not please.
Okay. Yeah, I know. We should be like Usher or Jacquees, right?
Jacquees. Which one? What are you doing?
Usher.
Love it. Okay. Her or LMA?
Love both those women, respect what they're doing. I'm gonna go with her. I'm gonna go with her. She plays so many music like instruments, and I would love to be in a creative space with her because of that. I love creating with musicians.
Yeah, I've watched a few of her live. She's amazing, so for sure.
I've seen her. She's so good.
We love her.
So good.
Brent Faiyaz or Bryson Tiller?
Bryson.
It was funny. I was like, I could have put Tory Lanez on here, but I was like,
not now.
Right, not anymore. He ruined that.
Right, he messed up. Okay, August Alsina or Jacquees?
Jacquees.
Okay, now this one's fun. City Girls or Megan Thee Stallion?
Okay, I'm gonna have to go with Meg. I mean, in another life, I just told my girlfriend Shalia Nicole, she's a singer too. I texted her a week ago, and I was like, my alter ego is Meg Thee Stallion, and she was like, "What makes you say that?" I was like, "I think in another life, I'm a rapper, like, and I have good knees like her." And she was like, "Okay." She's like, "I love that." She's like, "You are a rapper in another life." She was like, "But let's not sing about that right now on Jasmine Jordan Project." I was like, fair.
I have one more. I have one more surprise. Okay, Megan Thee Stallion or Nicki Minaj?
Megan Thee Stallion.
So Meg, okay.
Wow. Okay. So
you love Nicki. Yes. I love Nicki, but Meg feels like my best friend right now. Like I just feel like she's like every girl's best friend, and the tone of her voice and I'm just such a fan that I want to work with Meg.
Yeah, her cadence for me. It's the way she rides the beat for me that I'm like, I immediately, when I hear a Meg song, I'm like, I need to learn the words. Like, I just like the way she vibes with the song. Like,
and she has such a strong voice, and she comes and she's like, yeah, like it's
right.
so like, it's like kind of deep, and then it's like, oh, it's just so good. I love her.
She's doing her thing. She's doing her thing. Well, I mean, that was so much fun. Thank you for playing Build for Features. This was amazing. In general, just thanks for joining the Clubhouse. We loved your insights. We loved everything you had to say. And, you know, again, we want to talk about your new single coming out, but we'll let you go ahead and talk about it. Hope you all enjoyed the convo today. Jasmine, is there anything else you want to say that we probably missed, or they just want to let people know?
No, just, you know, I hope to connect with some new people. Thank you, ladies, for having me at the Clubhouse. Like, this has been just such a beautiful end to the weekend. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys continue to do, and just following your career and this podcast and everything else that you guys want to do that's on your heart. The single comes out Friday. It's called Release. It's actually a song that I wrote really inspired by my relationship with anxiety. So I'll just leave it there. Like, on Friday, please take a listen to it and check it out, and let me know if you resonate and if it hits home, you know. But it's still an upbeat song, but it just is supposed to feel like kind of a page of my diary, you know, and just like the highs and lows of like what an anxious mind can make you feel like, and just needing a release. And that has definitely been a word of the years, like figuring out how to still get your release and be released from things in the midst of like a pandemic. So I'm excited about that. My actual album, the album that this song is going to be on, it's called Inner Mission, like Inner Mission, is coming out December 4th. So we have another single in November, and then the project drops as well. So just stay tuned, and, you know, hopefully I'll be able to tour again soon. But yeah, we're working on some other exciting things, maybe some merch and collaborations and things coming up for, you know, post album release. So I'm really excited.
We love that.
Yeah, we love projects on projects on projects. And it sounds like you are doing your thing.
There's so many things that Jasmine says. Like, there's always so many like levels to what Jasmine says, right? Like, for one, she said, following y'all's career. I said, yes, the career. We like that word, career. I hung on to that. Okay. Don't worry. The Black Creators Club is here to support you, Jasmine, in any way that we possibly can. I love your music. I already was downloading it on Spotify myself. So I'm here. I can't wait for your new song release to pop out on Friday, because I feel like I can 100% relate to the topic and what you're talking about. And so we are so excited about all of this.
And I'm sure, you know, we have to do an episode definitely on a breakdown of just mental health and anxiety and all that. So once we do, I feel like we got our girl to just chime in. And so we'll call you and we'll be like, listen, Jasmine, what do you have to say with that? So we'll keep in touch and go ahead.
I would love that. And I was just going to say, like, hopefully I come to LA a lot, and like, hopefully, you know, in safer times and stuff, I would love for us to be able to get together and have this energy in the same room, and just, you know, whatever I can do to help support you guys and be there, I would love to. So thank you guys just so much for your support, and this conversation today really was awesome. You ladies are amazing.
For sure. Thank you, girl. Well, you know, tell our listeners where they can find you. What's your social, so that they can keep up and make sure that they are ready for Friday and for December as well.
Yes. So my social media, it's The Real Jasmine J, and that's JASMINE J. And that's on Twitter, on Instagram. I also have a Facebook, and Jasmine Jordan on Spotify. Following, you know, the account, if you're interested in the music, that always helps an independent artist, especially. You can pre-save the Spotify new single release. Like, you can actually save the song already, and the link is available in my Instagram bio, and actually on my Facebook as well, and Twitter. So yeah, connect with me on those. The blog, all that information is up there. So yeah, I hope to connect with some new people. I would love that.
Love it, love it, love it. And Eboné, where can they find you?
Yes, you guys can find me on all social media at Eboné Chatman 12. And Akilah girl, where are they finding you?
You are finding me on all platforms at Akilah Ffriend. And again, that's 2 F's because I'm your best friend. So at Akilah Ffriend on all channels. And obviously follow the Black Creators Club. We are at the Black Creators Club on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on all the socials, everything that you want. We're so excited again for this. And you know, we're gonna be back at it again, same time, same place next week. But this was a great convo. Thank you so much. And see you guys next week.
Okay, perfect. Now I'm just gonna stop.